Today, let's explore the importance of cultural awareness and the harm that can come from cultural appropriation. First of all, let's define culture. So, historically, culture has been hard to define. Anthropologist Edward Tyler explained it as that complex whole which includes knowledge, belief, art, morals, law, custom, and any other capabilities that and habits acquired by man as a member of society. In other words, culture is learned, not biologically inherited. It's an essential part of our identity and sense of self. As defined by UNESCO, culture is the set of distinctive spiritual, material, intellectual, and emotional features of society or a social group, encompassing not only art and literature but also traditions, beliefs, and ways of life. Culture includes the tangible aspects we recognize, like art, food, and festivals, but it also includes something more profound, the subjective aspects, like values and worldviews. Culture shapes who we are and how we connect with others. So, where does appreciation of culture end and appropriation begin? Appreciating a culture might involve trying a new cuisine or learning a language, but cultural appropriation is something more harmful. It's when elements of a non-dominant culture are used in a way that reinforces stereotypes, disrespects their original meaning, or lacks recognition of the source. Neil Lister, a cultural scholar, defines appropriation as stealing something from somebody that is not you, and highlights that it is about power, the power to take without consequences. Often people financially benefit from appropriating another culture without crediting or compensating that culture. Why does it matter? Why do we care about cultural appropriations? It is seen problematic because it can perpetuate harmful stereotypes, strip cultural elements of their significance, and ignore the history and struggles of the culture. So, how do you know if something is cultural appropriation? You can ask yourself these questions. Are you following a trend or exploring the history of a culture? Are you deliberately trying to insult someone's culture, or are you being respectful? Are you purchasing something, for example artwork, that is a reproduction of a culture or an original? Are there any stereotypes involved in what you're doing? Are you using a secret item, for example headdress, in a flippant or fun way? Are you borrowing something from an ancient culture and pretending that it is new? If a person of the original culture were to do what you're doing, would they be viewed as cool or could they possibly face discrimination? One of the most striking examples of appropriation was the minstrel show, an American form of theater from the 19th century where white performers wore blackface to mock African Americans. These shows were filled with stereotypes depicting black people as lazy or buffoonish, degrading an entire group for entertainment. Although minstrel shows are a dark part of history, their harmful impact lingered. The BBC's minstrel show, for instance, only ended in 1978. Let's watch another example.
A Canadian take on bubble tea is brewing controversy. Quebec-based Boba recently pitched itself on CBC's Dragon's Den.
That trendy sugary drink you are queue up for and you are never quite sure about its content.
Those days are over with boba.
Hang on. I'm quite sure about its content, but continue.
The entrepreneurs pitching their version as healthier and less ethnic, but actor and potential investor Simu Liu wasn't keen.
Why? There can be new takes on things.
Sure, but I'm looking at
everything has to be
these two guys.
traditional.
No, but then there's also an issue of cultural appropriation. There's an issue of taking something that's very distinctly Asian in its identity and quote unquote making it better, which I have an issue with.
You are never quite sure about its content.
Now many are criticizing the company for selling a Taiwanese beverage.
This person from the business was like, oh, people are usually not sure about the content. Like, what is there not to be sure about?
Don't say that it's not an ethnic drink because it is and it always will be.
Major chains have offered similar products with less controversy. For example, Starbucks marketed Asian origins with its recent tea.
Are we honoring the place of where it comes from?
This food writer says framing bubble tea as unfamiliar is off base.
It's not new. And without dating myself necessarily, I remember there being so many bubble tea shops in Vancouver in the 90s.
The company didn't respond to CBC News inquiries, but on Instagram it said it was sorry and will reevaluate branding, packages, and marketing strategies.
I think they're going to need to make some big changes to their brand and how they tell their brand story in order for that to happen. I don't think they can continue as is.
Maybe, but for a company already sold in big retailers like Costco and Sobeys, it may be hoping this controversy has already bubbled over. Anis Haidari, CBC News, Calgary.
So let's look at the differences between appropriation and appreciation. For appropriation, it is when you dehumanize oppressed groups, you take without permission, you perpetuate stereotypes and ignore the meaning and stories behind the cultural elements. On the other hand, for cultural appropriation, you celebrate culture in a respectful way. You ask permission, provide credit, and offer compensation. You elevate the voices and experiences of a members of a cultural group, and you focus on learning the stories and meanings behind cultural elements. So, how can we avoid cultural appropriation and move towards respectful appreciation? First, let's take the time to learn about a culture before adopting elements from it. Ask yourself, do I understand the significance of this element? Second, support members from the culture by purchasing items from their small businesses rather than mass-produced copies. Finally, engage in conversation and help others learn about these issues so we can create a society that truly values the diversity of cultures. By working towards greater awareness and respect, we can celebrate the richness of human expression in a way that honors its origins and empowers those who carry it forward. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions or comments, please fill the link in this QR code.